Denpa Chondende Dijin Jeba Dachongpa Yangdaba Zobe Sanje Ripa Shazo Tenpa Dewa Sheba Jiten Kenpa Jibu Due Kalo Jowa Lana Meba Ladami Namje Tenpa Sanje Chumdende Pejawa Shaja Toba La Chatel Choto Japso Jowo Tenpa Chumdende Dijin Sheba Dachongpa Yangdaba Zobe Sanje Ripa Shazo Tenpa Dewa Sheba Jiten Kenpa Jibu Due Kalo Jowa Lana Meba Adami Namji Temba Sanje Chumdende Pejawa Shaja Topala Chatelo Chodo Japso Chewo Temba Chumdende Dijin Shepata Chumba Yandaba Zobe Sanje Ripa Tansha So Temba Dewar Shepa Jiden Kemba Jibu Due Kalo Joa Lana Mepa Latami Namji Temba Sanje Chumdende Pejawa Shaja Topala Chatelo Chodo Japso Chewo Kanse kanyi tso che tamse sajen de lo gomba dupo ni nani chi ten tina cho che son te tse che pa cho la cha zel. Namda konga cho to so sanwa yi che ja so se je lumbu ta taba chi ten sum do la nye wa. Gombo cho ni cho la cha zel lo zen cho te pa ti mien ta we she se do cha wa cho la cha zel. De te ju ta se pa so ma chi nyami chi jin cho la cha zel. Gombo tu je chen de ba tam je chen de ten ba bo so nam jen de cha zo shi di jin je la cha ze lo da de de cha de wa ju je we nya son le zhe jin chi do ten lam chu ju ba shi ju che la cha ze la de na de lam yang de la ba da la ra to ne xin je tang ba yun den de jen de la yang cha a ze lo di ba chi yang mi cha xin je wa pi som cho ba che ran je sim ne yang so de Dene sanje tenpa ye kama arari emane tang gyoma seba chuwa da. Melam lo tang tinda bu tuji chunam titra da. Senam ti tamje seba ye gomba tongni junji tatu de kata nata chiwe la tude. Sibe tsole jowa jowa jowa. Masanje me shera paru jin maji minga nangke mo ni soso rangli shi chuyo. Dusum dewe yungla cha tse deya ta gade para sam gade puti so deya ta gade para sam gade puti so deya ta gade para sam gade puti so giri tongda geju shiwa ta me tu nyebi gendang chawa ta temperature chi pyo sum tso kyo tashi de jang ding de le sho kanji ting jing de bo chung kapa me pa ke me pa che pa me pa ta me pa huwa me pa cho me pa ta de tu me tun je me che pa ni ji xin gen pa zo be san je ma nang dan pa de la cha zi lo nian de xi wo cun nam kun xi ni je ni xie ting ze kan yi tang zhou la pen pa che na lam xi ni je ji ten tu zhuk ze pa kang Kanda yanda tenpe to na nangpa kunde na zo de song ba nian de chen ju sen pe cho che. San ye jin ne yum de la cha ze lo. Sa shi bi ji chung shi me to zhang ri ra ling shi ni de tian pa de san ye xin du mi de pe wa. Zhou ben nam da xin du che ba shu. Ye dang gu ru rat na men da la kam ne ya ta ya mi. Sanje chedan soji chonam la chanchu bato dani ke sochi daji chushi jibe sonamji. Dola peje sanje tuba sho sanje chedan soji chonam la chanchu bato dani ke sochi daji chushi jibe sonamji dola peje sanje tuba sho. Sanje chedan soji chonam la chanchu bato dani ke sochi Daji chushi jibe tsolam ji chola pinche sanje choba sho. Kanji tuzi ni sonwe tawa tamche pangbe chi tambe chu ni yok tuanze pe kwa tamte la cha tse lo. Ranja sumra kun la tawe mi kesan taba chube chung tse chung e tabje tse bai. Se ze shi ni nam la kubi tu. Namo la ike ta lu ta ni jin ke ye zhubun ta ta mi ike nam ta zhuwa ku je ta nam chi sam. Tam je ke do ta ji chue den do. Okay, so I think today uh, we are at stanza 17, right? 17? I think it's
I
stanza
thought it was
17.
17, 16,
16?
maybe.
Okay,
Black and white
okay.
karma, or
Oh, okay. Thank you. So, yeah, I think the last Wednesday talk about stanza 15, maybe the 16 not completed. So the stanza the 15, which mainly talking about the suffering of three lorems, right? Through that, taking refuge to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. I think this is the one of the essence of the small scope practice. You know, they're more aware about the suffering of three lower realms, which are the hell realm, hungry ghosts, animals. So they're more concerned about the suffering of three lower realms, right? The small scope practitioners. General, it is saying becoming a Buddhist or Buddha Dharma, your practice becoming Buddha Dharma, which means you're concerned mostly about next life. If you concern only for this life, then doing the prayer, whatever, maybe it's not completely become the true Dharma. Becoming true Dharma means mainly more thinking about to planning for your next life, mainly. So that is why the small scopes, the practitioners, they're more aware or concerned about the suffering of three lorems. So that is why, because in order to overcome or in order to free from the suffering of three lorems, who can able to save you, then only the Buddha Dharma Sangha. That's how they saw. Where you rely, our reliable is only Buddha Dharma Sangha. Why they can help? Because the main causes of three lower in suffering is your non-virtuous karmas, right? So the non-virtuous karmas are created by destructive emotions, afflictions. So in order to suppress or eliminate these non-virtuous karmas and destructive emotions, who can able to cure your negative karmas and non-virtuous karma? Dharma, your dharma, right? Dharma is only the medicine to cure. That's why they rely on the dharma as a protector, saver, can save you from these sufferings. But in order to achieve the Dharma, you need to first understand the Dharma. You need to get all the instruction. So that's why you rely on Buddha as a teacher, right? Then, in just you having Buddha as a teacher, just you learn doesn't mean you can able to generate Dharma. You need Dharma companion, Dharma supporter, your role models. It's called the Sanghas, which are the Arya beings. Arya beings means supreme beings. Don't forget this word, right? Most of you know, but some newcomers, you really need to understanding, right? Arya beings, Arya at the Sanskrit, which means supreme beings. Supreme beings, which means at least the person who achieved seeing part, at least among the 5 parts, right? Accumulation part, preparation part, seeing part, third part, that part called Arya part, Paklam, supreme part. So whoever reach seeing part, meditation, the normal learning part, all of these 3 are the supreme parts. So the supreme beings means a being who reach one of these 3 parts. That's called the supreme beings. So those beings are fully reliable. They reach certain type of the level. Mainly they realization is they perceived, they cognize emptiness directly. So without cognizing emptiness directly, you cannot reach seeing part at all, right? Seeing part means the first step of the seeing part, when you cognize, experience emptiness directly, nakedly, not conceptually, not inferentially, right? It's direct cognizer. So when you experience emptiness directly, nakedly, that beings is called who reach the seeing part, which means the part who sees directly emptiness, ultimate truth, right? So the person who reached that kind of realization, this is the reliable spiritual friends, right? It can influence you to cognize the emptiness. You can learn from them. You can get some kind of what you call influence by those supreme beings. That's why you're seeing them as a reliable Dharma friends, right? Reliable Dharma friends. So therefore, Buddha, as a Buddhist, this is very, very first important, right? Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Buddha, it doesn't mean something miracle power. Buddha can do some magic, some blessing. Not only that, mainly we're seeing him as an excellent teacher who can give you instructions from the beginner, to all the way to the Buddhahood, all the detailed information, right? And who has unconditional love and compassion to entire sentient beings equally, right? So he himself, free from all the defilements, all the ignorance, full of knowledge, right? And very skilled teachers. So that type of, we are looking Buddha like that person. So that kind of teacher, if you rely on them, you can get huge benefit, right? So in order to free from suffering of 3 lords, it's not easy. In this life, how intelligent doctor, scientist, whatever material, none of this can able to help you, right, to overcome suffering of 3 lords. They themselves will fall down into suffering of 3 lords. So only the reliable teacher is Buddha. That is why first the small scope practitioner, like a beginner at the lumbering practitioner, who are fully relying on Buddha as a teacher. So when you look onto that perspective, you're becoming more kind of interesting to learn the Buddha's scriptures, where Buddha wrote hundreds of the texts he been taught us. all of these texts are available right now. So these texts, which taught by Buddha, so when you are really kind of take refuge in the Buddha as a teacher means I'm the student of Buddha and I should learn. So today, even you cannot see him directly, but he already taught us. He turned the first wheel of Dharma. He turned the second wheel of Dharma. He turned the third wheel of Dharma. So all the informations he's been taught us for the beginner, for the intermediate, for the advanced students, all the different levels of the teachings, everything is in there. So that is why when you take refuge, the Buddha Dhamma Sangha means in order to overcome suffering of three lower realms, to deal with non-virtuous karmas and causes of this non-virtuous karma, your ignorance. So I need to cultivate the wisdom, right? That's why these sutras, right, the texts where the Buddha taught us, should use this as a regular textbook to grow my wisdoms. Then, secondly, according to my karma, today I cannot able to receive directly the teaching from Buddha, but I have teacher. I can receive that from my teachers. So that's how you seeking the teacher as the emanations of the Buddha. Then you use the teacher as a teacher, not some kind of blessing master, not some kind of a miracle power, not some kind of what you call a fortune teller, a kind of, people can use different way, the teacher. Fortune teller. It's all about mundane things, right? It's all about mundane things. How definitely talking, whatever nice thing talk, it's all about mundane. So we rely on spiritual teacher is to overcome your attachment on this material life. So that's how we should, understand taking refuge to the Buddha instead. That's why Buddha Dharma Sangha is the only can able to help you to overcome all these non-virtuous karmas and the causes of these karmas. So you have, as a beginner, small scale practitioner, they're more concerned. The fear is fear of suffering of three lower realms. They believed Buddha Dhamma Sangha is the only can save from that fear. Out of these two causes, then you are fully reliant, you show you're convinced, trust to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha out of your devotions. So when you do that, when you're able to show that convinced, when you're able to show your trust out of these two causes, and that devotion, that kind of realization is called refuge. That refuge means that. When you have that, you become a true Buddhist. If you do not have these things, you might be Buddhist by culture. You might be Buddhist by something, but not the real, the Buddhist where Lama Atisha, Lama Shantipas, and the Atisha, when he explanation of Buddhist and non-Buddhist, the what you call the measurement is the practitioner, he or she. If you have taken refuge to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, you are Buddhist. If you do not have that, non-Buddhist. That's how distinguish. Therefore, now the point is having refuge like that for even the beginner, small scale practitioners. You deep of your heart always have some kind of concern about these three lowering sufferings for your next life. fear, right? So these three lower rim sufferings caused by whom Buddha says in his sutra, the main causes of three lower rim is non-virtuous karmas, right? It's very clear. One of the main causes of suffering of three lower rim is non-virtuous karmas. So non-virtuous karma is the one who what you call creates all the suffering of three lower. So understanding that consequences, right? This kind of non-virtuous karma result is this. The relationship between cause and effect. It's very, very important. The first I mentioned last time, it's called right view, right? When we talk about the right view, there are two different types: mundane right view, super mundane right view. Right? Mundane right view means that view who understanding the law of karma. Virtuous karma result happiness. Non-virtuous karma results suffering. That relationship between karma and the result, if you really understand that, cognize that, that philosophy view called mundane right view. That's the first small scope you cultivate that kind of view, the law of causality. But I always have difficulty to explain, the philosophy logically. How should you put logically karma, this certain karma result this karma result that? It's very difficult. Even Lamrim Choma, Lama Tsongkhapa says it's very difficult. By logic alone, still not enough to prove that. So it's difficult. Now we use it a little bit differently. Like you learn from the general, or if without seed, there will not come flower, right? Even the very rich soil there. But if you don't plant the seed of the flower, just having the rich soil doesn't mean it will come out the flower. You have to put the seeds there. That means that flower is really depend on that seed. So relationship between result, effect, the flower, and the cause is the seed. It's the nature. So we learn from, slowly learn from that logic. Then flower seeds only bring flowers, right? Orchid seed bring orchids, right? Or lily flower seeds brings only lily flower. So orchid seeds never create lily flower, right? They have their own seeds. It's called competitive relationships. Competitive causes, will bring the result. Result should coming from cause doesn't mean any causes can create any result. That doesn't mean that. The cause and result should be competitive, right? I don't know, what is the opposite? Discompetitive, or what is the opposite of the competitive? Incompetitive? Incompatible, right? I am.
Cooperate.
Incompatible.
Incompatible. So I am incompatible. So the here, when you look into non-Buddhist philosophers, there's certain I don't need to go leave it there. It's take too much time. Okay, so here stanza 16, which is like, of course, first, when you take refuge, then there is a precept, right? Are never undermined. So he's saying there is no certainty that after death we may not be born into, lower realms. The protection from such terror lies in the three jewels alone. So we must, okay, sorry, this one stanza 15, okay, stanza 16. So when you take the refuge, these are precepts, right? Common, unique. You should read it, all this detailed information in Lamrim Chemo, right? What are the common precepts? What kind of the individual, the precepts they have. So they have a certain precepts. So look these precepts. So you have to take care. So here saying precepts are never undermined. Ensure that these precepts are never undermined. You never break these precepts when you take the refuge. Then there is a huge benefit, right? But among all these variety precepts, I think the main precept is because the refuge, among the refuge, three precious jewels, the main refuge object is dharma, right? The dharma is actually your saver. So the precept among there, the main precept is not harming to others, right? Taking refuge to the dharma, they say then precept is not harm to anybody. So therefore, at least when you take refuge to Buddha Dhamma Sangha, your precept is not harming to others. Now here, the reason is when you harm to the other people, you're accumulating non-virtuous karmas, right? Harming to other people is non-virtuous karmas. That's why here, stanza 16, this is turn depend on contemplating well the white and black karma, virtuous and non-virtuous karma, that means, and their effects, and on perfect observance of the ethical norms. I, a yogi, have practiced in this manner. You who aspire for liberation should do likewise. So this is turn depend on contemplating well the virtuous and non-virtuous karmas and their effects. So understanding dependent between virtuous karmas affect happiness, non-virtuous karmas affect sufferings, right? If you go with the samsara, 6 realms, virtuous karma reserve 3 higher realms. Non-virtuous karma reserves 3 lower realms, right? So these are the relationship each others. So contemplate well the virtues and non-virtues and their effects, and on perfect observance of the ethical norm. Perfect observance means perfect practice. Practice, which means abandon the non-virtuous karma and adopt the virtuous karma. That's called the here perfect observance, right? Quality to be cultivated, to be the rejected. So quality, the virtuous karmas, the qualities to be cultivated, adopted. Then non-virtuous karma to be the rejected, abandoned. So that kind of practice means you need to live with that kind of life, your day-to-day life. So taking refuge to Buddha Dhamma Sangha, one of the precepts is at least not harm, not committing any harmful harm. So that means not cultivate any non-virtuous karmas, right? So non-virtuous karma to be rejected, to be abandoned, to be stopped. Virtuous karma, the good quality, to be cultivated, developed, or adopted. That's called observance of the ethical norm. That's called the ethical life. Like moral ethics life in the small scope practitioners, like a beginners. Moral ethical life means the persons, their day-to-day life, they just usual their life. They remain abandon the non-virtuous karma, then they cultivate always virtuous karma. If you live your life with that kind of lifestyle, that's called ethical norms, right? Ethical, what you call moral life. So remain with that kind of life will help you to your next life, will stop to experience the suffering of three lower realms. That's how it is now. So the dharma, taking refuge to the dharma which is the moral ethics, right? The moral ethical life which marry the among the three higher training, the higher training of moral ethics, which means abandon all the non-virtuous actions, cultivate all the virtuous actions. That's so. Lama Tsongkhapa says, I, a yogi, have practiced in this manner. You who aspire for liberation too should do likewise. He himself, his life always remained that kind of ethical, moral ethical life. So you should be the person who really wants to liberate, is saying that who aspire for liberation. If you really want to liberate from samsara, then too should do likewise. You should do that way. Then the stanza 15th. Lamcho tula tsenyi tsane ten manye pato sachi myowe. Ti matsame be gyula lap kosong tiktung time bakpa ti. Takpara letip chunga ne chewe gyuntu topshi tsangwa tenpa che. Nye jura nye nyamlin titarki tatwe che jang teshin jang tse los. Until we have obtained the most qualified form to pursue the excellent path, we will fail to make great strides in our journey. So we must strive in all the conditions without exception of such a form. Thus these three doors of ours so solid with evil karma and downfalls, since it is specially essential to purify their karmic defilements, we must ensure to cherish the constant application of all four powers. I, a yogi, have practiced in this manner. You who aspire for liberation too should do likewise. So, Lamcho Tula Tsinyi Tsametes, until we have obtained the most qualified form to pursue the excellent path, we will fail to make great strides to our journey. So until we have obtained the most qualified form, which is the precious human life, right? The precious human life you have right now. So until we obtain the most qualified form, this is most important, right? When we talk about the previous chapters, when we talk about precious human life, recognize the precious human life. It is very important, very difficult to find. very important, right? It is very important. Cognizing it is very important. So until we have obtained the most qualified form to pursue the excellent path, so to achieve the excellent path, we will fail to make great strides in our journey. If you do not have this precious human life, you will be failed. I mean, you will be not achieved to the Buddhahood, right? Stride to our journey. Our journey, the last stage is enlightenment, Buddhahood, through the excellent path, right? To Buddhahood, how should we reach? Through the excellent path, the right path we need to go, and that's how we achieved. But to achieve that journey, you have to have precious human life. This is the life is one of the best opportunities. This is the life has potential to achieve the Buddhahood, right? We talk about during the precious human life. Buddha himself, all the masters, when you look at, they be born into precious human life. Precious, which means 8 leisure, right? 8 leisure means freedom from 8 non-leisures, right? And 10 opportunities life. So which mainly means free from unfavorable condition, possessed with the favorable condition, right? That kind of life, which has full power, potential to achieve Buddhahood. So that's why it says, until we have obtained the most qualified form to pursue the excellent path, we will fail to make great strides through our journey. Until you achieve this precious human life. If you do not have that, we will be failed, right? Without achieve precious human life, you will be failed the great stride to our journey. The great strides means the great opportunities, great kind of what you call benefit opportunities in our journey. So you can do more things. Born into animals in other realms, they can do some virtues, but very little, right? They can do like a huge big. And this precious human life can do huge benefit. He can do so much things. So that's called great strides. And so you can do so much more things. So that's why this precious human life is very, very essential to achieve Buddhahood, to achieve liberation, right? Our final goal, there are the 2 goals. One, self-liberation from samsara, right? Another one, Buddhahood. They're the 2 long-term benefit. That's our aim. To reach that, the first temporary goal is to achieve precious human life. This is anything you reach this kind of level, you have to go through the precious human life. Otherwise, there's no other things. Born into other realms, then it's difficult to do the practice. So that is why until we have obtained the most qualified form, which called precious human life, to pursue the excellent path, to achieve the excellent path, we will fail to make great strides in our journey, right? You got it, right? Do you got it? What that mean? Okay. So we must strive in all the conditions without exception of such a form. So that is why you should put all your effort, diligent effort in all the condition. The condition is the causes without exception of such a form, the causes of precious human life. So because precious human life is very important, without that precious life, you will not going to be achieve anything, right? Our journey will be fail. You cannot able to journey. You cannot able to pursue your excellent path. So because of that reason, you need to put your effort to cultivate the causes of precious human life. That means, we must strive all the condition without exception of such a form which is precious human life, precious life, right? So thus, these three doors of our soul solid with evil karma, downfalls. So three doors which call body, speech, and mind, right? We accumulate negative karma, downfall through body, speech, and minds. That's are called the three door of our soul solid, I think it means polluted, right? It's polluted with evil karma. Evil karma is the non-virtuous karma. In the some English word they use sin, right? The sin, which I'm not sure the Buddhist term. It's I think the Bible they use the sin. Similar like that. It's called the evil karma. It's like a sin, non-virtuous things which create too much suffering. So, polluted with evil karma and downfalls. Downfall, which means you break the vow. As a monk or the lay practitioner, if you committed Pratimoksha vow, for the monks we call novice monk, full ordinance, right? We have a precepts. For the lay community, you take the 5 precepts of the Upasika vows. Like these are, when you break these things, it's called downfalls. But you break the precepts. Bodhisattva vow, when you take the vow, you break the precepts. So each time when you break, it's called the downfalls, right? So Vajrayana vow, tantric vow, when you take it, you break it, it's called the downfall. So negative karma, the sin, the evil karma, the non-virtues, and the downfalls. Downfalls, which is you take a vow, precept, and you break it. So these are the called downfalls. So thus these three. Now what does that mean? Means, so your non-virtues, right? The sins, like evil karmas, your downfalls are the causes of three lowerings, right? Which means, another word, these are the obstruct to achieve precious life, right? So the precious life, there are two things. The cause we must strive to all the condition, which means you need to put your effort to cultivate all the causes of the precious life, which are the virtues. Then the obstacle of the precious life is this evil karma and the downfalls, which accumulate through our body, speech, and mind, right? So these heavy things are polluted our mind, to obstruct our mind to achieve precious life, right? So then next, since it is specially essential to purify their karmic defilements, so specially essential, Lama Tsongkhapa says, specially essential, which means specially to cleansing these non-virtuous karmas are very, very important. They say, since it is specially essential to purify their karmic defilements, this non-virtuous karma, the evil karma, downfalls, these are very important to purify them. Otherwise, these will these causes will create the result, suffering of three lower realms. Another word is, these causes will obstruct you to born into precious life. So that's why, since it is specially essential to purify them. So how do? We must ensure to cherish the constant application of all four powers. So Lama Tsongkhapa saying here is to purifying these karma. How should we purify these karma? We must ensure to cherish the constant, continuously application of four powers. So four antidote powers, right? So apply the four antidote powers to purify these negative karmas, right? The antidote four power, which call power of relying, power of regret, and actual power, the confessed, and the power of promise, committed. Future not going to do that again, right? Four powers. Very simple word. But if you go to the kind of little fancy word, there's also nice fancy word I saw in the Lamrim Chema in English version. When you read it, they use different kind of terminologies. So, but the simple thing is, here, through the four powers, you can purify these non-virtuous karmas. He said we must ensure to cherish, right? Constant, so always, continuously, not only one time, two times, constantly apply the four antidote attitude in order to overcome your bad karmas. So these, when you take refuge, you committed yourself, right? Not going to accumulate any non-virtuous karmas, but my past karma still there, right? My past negative karmas, non-virtuous karma still there. And because of being an ordinary people, we have lots of anger, jealousy, attachment, arrogance. This destructive emotion is still there. So because of this destructive emotion, we still constantly accumulating negative karmas, right? Even we do not want to accumulate negative karma, but because of these destructive emotions are so powerful, so we still constantly accumulate negative karmas. So therefore, the best solution, Lama Tsongkhapa is saying, is whatever you accumulate in negative karmas, you should constantly purify them every time, every day, if you can. Purify them. So he said we must ensure to cherish the constant application for all four powers. So when you purify these things, apply it through four powers: power of reliance, power of regret, actual power, which is the confessed, then power of promise. So through the four power, you can purify even heaviest karma. Buddha says that, these things are not Lama Tsongkhapa his own just thinking. These are instruction which Buddha himself, when you look into Lamrim Chemo and this chapter, right, it's around page 200, around there, right, 215, 16, 17, those karmas are started there. So then after karma things finish, then he will teach you how to purify the negative karmas, right? The method of purification, the negative karmas. So when you read it, it's even Buddha, his own word. He says that, you should apply these four powers to purify your negative karmas. There are certain sutras saying even heaviest negative karma you accumulate in the past can purify it by through the four powers. So sometimes, unfortunately, some practitioner, they want to purify the negative karmas, but they do not know how to purify negative karmas. There are quite many Buddhist people, when they're young, they done many mistakes, done horrible things. Then after they're getting older, because of the culturally, as a Buddhist, who believing next life, believing the karma, now they feel fear, worry so much. Sometimes so much fear, they cannot do any practice because of so fear inside. Reason I mentioned earlier, by mistake, they accumulate so much negative karma. Unfortunately, they do not find excellent guide, can explain them how should purify these things. It is curable. You can purify these things to build inner strength. So sometimes person themselves, because of the not having good karma to encounter with the right instructor, teachers, then they themselves not knowing, they not found any helper, then whole life is just fear, getting depressed, then getting worse and scared, more scared, right? So of course, the karmic, bad karma, bad result is inevitable. This is true. But they always have solution. Buddha, any done something bad things, they always hear some kind of solution, how to fix it, right? So you need to learn the solution, how to fix this problem. Then when you know, just knowing the solution, not enough. You have to implement. You have to put it into the practice. Means you always apply these four powers to purify your negative karmas. Some unfortunate, I mentioned earlier, who have no idea the solution, they do not know anything, they just live with the fear. That's very unfortunate. Some Buddhists who knows these things, who knows this is the purification practice they have, you can purify the negative karma and so forth, but they're not doing anything. They themselves not put the implement. They themselves not practicing this. That's also quite popular, right? So why these are? Why they don't need to put these things? Even do they really believe karma and the result, rebirth? If they're still believing these things, why they do not have like a concern about those bad karma they accumulated in the past? Why they don't concern, fear? One reason is the first practice, death meditation. They never done this practice. They themselves not put it into the practice. Therefore, they don't think about the death. Their mind is 100% in this life, occupied in this life. That's why their mind is only focused on this life, emphasize on this life. So they're completely forgetting next and next life. Why? Because they have so much attached to this life. That attachment blind. Attachment can blind many things, right? This attachment, which emphasize on this life, blind the person, don't seeing the next life, not thinking about the next life. So they know there's bad karmas. They know the non-virtuous karma result is suffering of three lower realms. They know about the suffering of hell realm, hungry ghosts, animals, how horrible these are, how danger, right? How painful. But still, they're not concerned about this. They're not concerned. They're not concerned doesn't mean they don't have any negative karmas. They still have lots of negative karma, but they're not still not concerned these things because of, I mentioned earlier, these attachments which emphasize on these material lives, money, power, positions, right? What you call a family, these kind of mundane things. So because of so much attached to these things, they every day, morning wake up to till go to bed, their mind is concerned about always emphasize this life. So even their precious life, they engage with the dharma, but they cannot utilize, unfortunately. Then last minutes, when they are dying, now they definitely know they were going to die. Then too much regret. Then nothing to do anything now. It's more difficult, too late now. Then there's nothing. That simple thing is, oh, we'll do prayer for you, do something, little things, nice things, we'll talk to them. That's all. There's nothing to do anything. So therefore, meditate on death meditation. It's really good. It's a little bit scary, but it's really take you to the right place. What you call leads you to the perfect life. Otherwise, oh, this death is too much concern, it makes me fear, don't think about. That means you're getting worse and worse. So negative karma we accumulate in the past by mistake, but how heavy negative karma, you can purify them. And thank goodness the Buddha give us all the detailed instruction, how should we purify them? That's really fortunate, right? So these, power of relying, one main thing, which is power of relying, which means rely on, because when you accumulate negative karma, you rely on either Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, either other sentient beings, right? Rely on Buddha, we also accumulate negative karmas. For instance, you disrespect to the Buddha's image, Buddha's pictures, or you, what you call, judge to the Buddha statues. When you say this, oh, this is very ugly, this is blah, blah, blah. When you judge to the Buddha statue, this is the negative karma you accumulate. Rely on Buddha. So that's why there's one student who bought the Manjushri statue and asked to the Atisha. He said, oh, I bought this statue. What do you think about this? Is that okay? He said, he gave the answer. He said, of course, Manjushri is the excellent. There's no mistake at all. Manjushri has no mistake, anything. Everything's pure. But the artist, maybe the artist is not perfect. It may be medium, got a middle artist, not really perfect. So he talked to the artist, not perfect. That's how, the smart, not making any negative karmas like that. Through the dharma, we're accusing, oh, your tradition, your dharma is something wrong, my dharma is supreme, like as a Mahayana practitioner, say, oh, I'm a Mahayana practitioner. You are the Theravadas. You are the lower vehicle. We are the greater vehicle. You're looking down to them, something like that. What you call looking down to the other's dharma. This is the negative karma you accumulate through the dharma, rely on dharma. Then the sanghas. Sometimes when you see the monks and nuns that behave or something, Because of seeing that, then they accuse, oh, these monks are blah, blah, blah. These nuns are blah, blah, blah. So you accuse that, you accumulate negative karmas through the sanghas. So that's why these three negative karma rely on Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. But the most of our negative karma, we rely on other sentient beings, right? Out of anger, you shout them, you're stealing, like all kind of majority negative karma, you accumulate through other beings. So that's why you rely on others to accumulate these negative karmas. So in order to purify them, you rely on those objects. So it is saying when you fall down on this floor, you have to use that same floor to help you to stand up, right? You use that same floor to wake up, to stand up from that floor. So when you accumulate negative karma through these objects, you use that same object to purify these negative karmas. So that's why relying on Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, what they do, you take refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, right? Rely on other sentient beings. What we're doing, we generate bodhicitta. Behalf of all sentient beings, you're seeking yourself to become Buddha, right? So compassion to others, generate bodhicitta. These practice called power of reliance. So the first, when you do the purification practice, first you should apply the power of relying, right? Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, taking refuge, generating bodhicitta. Now, yes, then second power of regret. Then you just thinking about the result of all these non-virtuous karmas, mainly the 10 non-virtuous karma, how dangerous they are, right? I mentioned earlier, you should read page 218, 19, around there. They will talk about all the detail about the karmas. There are long information, 10, 20 pages there. Each of non-virtuous karma, for instance, 10 non-virtuous, when we talk about first killing, right? Killing, which means what? You need to understand in detail the full, complete karma, killing karma, right? Incomplete killing karma. Many things, heavy or less lighter karma, all this detailed information, it's in there. Lama Tsongkhapa write it there, very detailed. So complete means any negative 10 non-virtuous karma will accumulate. There are mainly 4 things, right? She means basics, right? Which is object, the basic basis. Then second is samba, attitude. Like for instance, if you're going to kill this animal, the basis is that animal, like a fish. Then second is attitude. Attitude has a 2, right? Perception and intention. Perception, which means knowing the object, the fish, as a fish. You not mistake. You're thinking, I'm going to kill fish, but the object is not fish. Maybe it's frog. So you're seeing, you thinking this is the fish. So that means mistaken perceptions, right? So it's called, when we talk about attitude, there are 2, perception and intention, motivation. Perception should be correct. If you're going to kill the fish, you're seeing as a fish, perceiving fish as a fish. That intention is wish to kill, right? Wish to kill that. Then the next, it's called action. It's the performance. Perform the act, whatever action you acted. Use any weapons or whatever you use to killing performance, actions. Then the last, conclusion, right? The these animals now die, right? That's the conclusion. Then maybe you rejoice. These are the conclusions. So each non-virtuous karma, when you accumulate it, there's a object, a basis, and attitude. Attitude as a tool, perception, intention. Then next call performance, action, the real actions, right? Then the last conclusions, which is if you steal, you feel like, oh, now I've got it. You enjoy it. If you want to kill, that object is really passed away. Now it's died. You rejoice, right? So these are the conclusions. So if they're full four, whatever you call the four facilities or four criteria completed, then your karma has become full, completely karma, very heavy karmas, right? So I don't need to go detail. You can read these things into this lumbering text very detailed. But the point is, here, we've been accumulating negative karma in this life, non-virtuous karma constantly, in our past life, no doubt. So there are countless of negative karmas there, right? So as long as negative karmas there, result sooner or later, when circumstances arises, definitely this karma will ripen, right? No doubt. Now, between that, before the ripen the result, what should we do? What are the solution? Buddha says, do purification practice constantly, every time. Purify them. So when you purify them, then you don't need to worry, right? The causes is gone. So in that beautiful, the rich soil, you take out the poison seed. You take it out, you clean it up. You don't need to worry now it comes out again, the poison plants. You don't need to worry. It will never come up there because the seed is gone. Exactly the same. When you purify these non-virtuous karmas, then you don't need to worry about your next life. So that is why the small scope practitioner, you look yourself what level you are right now. If your mind is constantly concerned about suffering of three lower realms, because of that reason, you definitely 100% believed to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha can save you. Out of that belief, if you're able to show your convince, trust, out of tremendous devotion to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, right? Your refuge. And because of that refuge practice, your understanding of relationship between karma, law of karmas, much deeper. You're believing on this much deeper. That is why your mind is constantly thinking to cleansing those 10 non-virtuous karmas, right? Non-virtuous karmas. You always feel this. I really need to purify my negative karmas before I'm going to die, right? So that kind of mind, if you have, then you are getting small scope realization. Then you can consider yourself as a small scope practitioners, right? If you're not having that kind of feeling anything, you're still not in the small scope. Then of course, medium scope, so far. Great scope, no doubt, nothing, right? So far. So that's how you should know which level you are right now. So if you're still not thinking this again, that's why meditate on death meditations. again and again, right? Then think about these karmic systems again, thinking more like this. Then encouraging oneself, really, I need to clean these negative karmas. Otherwise, if I fail this, then there's no any other chance, right? More difficult. Yes, until we have obtained the most qualified form to pursue the excellent path, we will fail to make great strides in our journey. I will be fail to get any of those journey, compassion, bodhicitta, through that Buddhahood, liberation, no chance, right? All these things have to come through the precious life. So everything comes through the precious life. So first immediate counter the plane is at least to born into precious human life. My next life, till achieve Buddhahood, have to go through the precious life. That's the best opportunities. So that precious life is not just recite some mantra, some prayer only. It's good. That's not enough. Here mainly Buddha's saying is precious life comes from virtues, right? Karmas. Should accumulate virtuous karmas. Who obstruct to achieve precious life? Your non-virtuous karmas. So make sure you should be abandon this non-virtuous karma called evil karma, downfalls, right? So these two things you should be always try to stop, to abandon these things. Even because of destructive emotions, very powerful. Even if you accumulate non-virtuous karmas, even you break your vows, you can apply the purification practice, right? It's a very good instruction where the Buddha says, first you should be make committed, right? Take committed, don't do this. Adopting good karma virtues, abandon non-virtues, and then because these virtues, adopting virtue, abandon non-virtues, helps you to achieve your next life will be precious life. Even unfortunately, your destructive emotions make mistake, you accumulate non-virtuous karma, still there's a chance. You should apply the purification practice. These purification practices should be through the four powers, right? So through the four powers, you can purify all of them. So you don't need to worry. And these things, even during the Buddha time, right? They are the Angulimala, right? The guy called Angulimala. Anguli means finger. Mala means rosary, mala, right? Unfortunately, because of the wrong teacher that guided him to kill 1,000 people, human being, he can liberate. So that's how he killed. 999 people killed it. Finally, he realizing he encountered with the Buddha. I don't need to go detailed story, most of you know. So, but the point is, after he feels strong regret, Buddha taught him that purification practice, right? He put purification practice constantly. Then he purified these things. So in one life, his own life, achieved the seeing path. When the person achieved the seeing path, then you don't need to worry about born into three lower realms. You completely eliminate born into three lower realms when you reach the seeing paths. So therefore, purification practices are so powerful, can purify even heavy karma like 999 people killed. How heavy these karmas, even one people killed, even not people, even just animals, right? Heavy karma. But the people, but he purified that. That really gives us some kind of hope. I can purify these negative karmas. So through this whole picture now, the small scope practice now, the mind, do your mind is really change it? It's still not change it. It's since maybe 3-4 years, what you're doing, after 3-4 years, if you're doing exactly the same, your mind didn't change. Your mind is not tamed it. That means you didn't reach any realization, right? So sometimes people may misunderstanding. That's why I always seriously teaching on the Lamrim is sometimes they consider I'm doing high yoga tantra, bodhicitta, wisdom of emptiness. That's so difficult. Even you not reach small scope realization. I'm always give you the example. Without finish elementary schools subject education, how can you reach the medium school and college? Impossible, right? You do not know the elementary school subject. You consider yourself, I'm studying, I'm going to college. People may laugh, right? It's the laughing. So that's why you make yourself lie. Lie means I'm not sure it's lie, or you make yourself, I don't know what to say, put it something, right? So rather start it step by step. Then each realization, when you reach it, huge benefit. Even just small scope practice can help you to prevent to born into 3 lower realms. How much benefit, right? Huge benefit. Now you ignore these things, you're thinking, oh, these are small scope. I finished, I'm on something there. So even you have no guarantee to born into next life, into precious life. You consider yourself as a high practitioner, this or that, Mahamudra, Dzogchen, blah, blah, blah. These things are, you have to be really carefully. Of course, I'm not saying don't practice. We're practicing these things to understand it, to make imprints, familiarize, future when you reach. But your day-to-day life practices, which level you are right now, right? If you're not still, your mind is still very baby there, baby mind, then you should start there first. Learn this alphabet properly, right? So if your mind is down there, really focus on small scope. So today, therefore, when I teach this short Lamrim, I very much emphasize in small scope practice. Go very detailed. I looked at Lama Tsongkhapa, his own instruction. Bodhicitta, he give only one stanza. Simple. Small scope, he have all, looks like everything there, right? First, started from death meditation, suffering of 3 lower realms, right? Then taking refuge, then karmic systems, then purifications. These are the small scope. Everything detailed there, even very short version, he put each of them there. When you look the bodhicitta and medium scope practice, only one stanza. Tomorrow, next class will be start medium scope, right? It's one stanza. It's simple. So for me, beginner, as a baby mind, we should properly learn first alphabet. Make sure you really learn this. Make sure A after B, B after C, not A after D or E, right? That's how we should know this. So that's how they're giving this instruction there. We have to go follow step by steps. When you follow step by step, you build inside very stable foundation. Then next, when you jump to the renunciation. Now medium scope, next time come, medium scope, rather renunciation. It's much more sense, much easier, right? Right now, we are not looking to get rid of our anger, hatred. We are not antidoting there. Small scope, just antidoting to the negative karmas, non-virtuous karmas only, right? So antidote attitude is 4 powers. The method is refuge. Refuge is the method. And use 4 power to antidote to the 10 non-virtuous karma and all your non-virtuous karmas. Who give this intention? Death meditation, right? Precious human life, guru devotions, and mainly understanding of suffering of 3 lower rims, understanding of law of causality, law of karmas. This give you intention behind that. Put your intention. Then you use your skill of your refuge and you apply the 4 powers. Then your target is your non-virtuous karmas, right? Finally, you clean them, then you win, you victory, you reach the small scope practice. You purify this negative karma. Because of that reason, your next things, you're not that much concerned about the suffering of 3 lower rims. Since that, you always hesitate to accumulate any non-virtuous karmas. Since that, you always constantly focusing on purification practice, right? So that's why, therefore, in the center, we're doing every Sunday, right? This Vajrasattva practice is the purification practice. First, we're doing taking refuge, generating bodhicitta, right? And visualization like a Vajrasattva upon your crown. All of these are part of power of relying, right? After that, we're requesting to the Vajrasattva. That section is power of regret. We feel so much fear about these negative karmas. Then you feel so much regret. Then you request the Vajrasattva help us to cleanse. Then during the recitation, the mantra, actual power. Now you purify this out of confessing to him. All those bad karma you accumulate, you confess with the reciting the mantras, prostrations, right? Anything you do, even 35 confession Buddha, out of prostration, do the circumambulance, any mantra, out of confess. Then after that finish, then last power of promise, right? So we're reciting this prayer. So these are through the 4 powers, we're cleansing all of these negative karmas, step by step follows. These practice been done by all these masters in the past. They use this practice to cleansing these negative karma. They put it into the text. So as a follower, we take it, we put into their shoes, right? Our feet into their shoes, we walk that way. Then we will reach what they reach it. Otherwise, we ignore all of these things. Then we think, oh, I myself something special. Then doing something things. Then you choose strange kind of path. Then you will end it up strange place, right? You ended up at that place. So that is why it's important to know all of these. So today, we finished the small scope. Now stanza 19 is starting the medium scope, right? Training the mind in the path shared by the person of middling capacities. So stanza started from around 13, stanza 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, right? These are the training the mind in the path shared by a person of small capacity, right? So finish. So next, stanza 19, middling capacity. It's mainly Four Noble Truth and dwelling of interdependent and renunciation, like these practice will talk about. maybe next Wednesday we're going to guide the meditation, the small scope practice. How can we put it into the meditations, right? Generally, you do all the day, every time you're doing this thing. But when you doing the Guru Yoga practice, with Guru Yoga practice, then how should we meditate these things? Maybe going to instruction. So maybe you have the 100 Deities of Toshita, the prayer, right? You have that. So we'll go with this prayer book next Wednesday. Okay, so before we start the question answer section, before I'm forgetting, this coming Saturday is Tibet Festival. So most of you know who live in Atlanta, right? So Tibet Festival this time, just a local Tibetan, they organize it. Before maybe 5, 6, 7 years, that our center usually organizing. Now it's been like quite many years they stopped it. Now the local Tibetan, there are only a few families living in this Atlanta, maybe 10 to 15 family, maybe around there. So they organized the Tibet Festival at our center this coming Saturday, started morning 10 to evening 5. So they have kind of Tibetan foods, Tibetan dance, or some kind of art, the drawing. And I also do a few meditation, like family meditations, kind of. I didn't see the detailed schedule, but they have a number of things going on. So if you live in Atlanta, this is good opportunity to learn a little bit about the Tibetan cultures. And also it's good to just support with these local Tibetan groups here. So just wants to share this. Actually, the centers, usually they send the emails, but some of you, maybe when you don't get email, and you can encourage to some of your friends and whoever, just for fun, they just come and introduce our center also. It's good to understanding that, right? There's somebody, they sent it there. Okay, so any questions?
Yes, sir. Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
I have a question about refuge. And so we're taught from the Lamrim that by genuinely going for refuge, that we're able to shut the doors to the lower realms. I'm wondering, at my level, I feel like I'm just repeating like a parrot, like a bird that can talk. I'm wondering, what is it actually that does prevent one from going to the lower realms by going for refuge? Is it when you genuinely go for refuge, it changes your behavior, your actions, and you naturally reduce your negativities and you increase positive actions, and therefore that increases your chances of getting a human rebirth again, or an upper rebirth? Or is it due to the power? I've heard some texts or some explanations of the 3 jewels that by going for refuge, it's almost more based on the object of the 3 refuge, the three refuges, or the 3 gems, and their power, or the truth of their power. And so I'm wondering, what is it that exactly prevents one from going to the low realms by going for refuge? Because to me, it doesn't make sense that it's because you just keep repeating words.
The main thing is about the refuge there for both sides. From the object side, you're taking refuge is you're receiving blessings from them. But mainly from your mind, when you feel that sincerely, fear to the suffering of 3 lower realms, and believe to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha can able to save you. Out of that, when you're able to show you're convinced, and that change your life, because you're becoming more sensitive on your own attitudes, your own actions. You become, because that's why you take refuge to the Dharma. means my non-virtuous karmas will result wrapping into suffering of three lower rims. Refuge to the dharma means I will not come to harm to anybody. So it's prevent to accumulate these non-virtuous karmas because of your belief on there. For instance, somebody will tell you, if you take this pill, you will going to die. Because of that fear of death, you will never going to take that pill, right? That fear, it's prevent to take these pills. Similarly, somebody say, if you don't take this pill, you will going to die. That's why, because of that fear, you're constantly taking these pills. So your action is changing, your behavior is changing. Before you're not taking this pill, now you have to take because you know it's going to die. That's why I have to take. Because you're taking this pill always, now they say it will going to die because of that fear, you stop your behaves to taking this pill again and again, right? Somebody have drugs addiction, too much smoke addictions, they have a lung problems. Finally, doctor warn it, if you take a smoking, if you smoke, you will going to die, you will fail your lung. Then they will stop that behavior of smoking. That because of the test, right, to the doctors. So that test, you show you're convinced to the doctors, that's why it changed your behaves. Similarly, taking refuge the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, it's your trust to the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, you convince, because these 10 non-virtues, you trust the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, there's some kind of reason why you rely on that, because you have fear of suffering of three lower rims. That fear is one push you to there. So knowing these suffering will causes by 10 non-virtuous karma, so abandon the 10 non-virtues, adopting the virtuous karma every that kind of behave, when you live with that, then your causes is you're destroying the causes, then you don't need to experience the result because you are not accumulating causes. That's why refuge, the person who take refuge, they're changing their behavior because of their own practice they put it. And because of relying on Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, the blessing, you receive, you accumulate virtues and merits. So these merit and virtues, and you're refuging the preventing all those negative karmas. That's why it saves you from the suffering of three lower rims.
Thank you.
But the refuge has a many level, right? This is small scope refuge. Then you go to the medium scope refuge. When you get to the great scope bodhisattva, great scope refuge, right? Till you become Buddha, you need to rely on Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, right? So that is why the refuge is not, this is right now talking the first, elementary stages of the refuge. This is started from there, but there are many different levels of the refuge. Any questions? Okay, so now we're going to do the
Ursula,
dedication. Yeah,
can I ask a quick follow-up if nobody else has a question?
yeah, go ahead.
Very quick. Last time you had mentioned that there are certain, and I've heard examples or stories about, for example, if you hear the Medicine Buddha mantra, that will prevent you from going to the lower realms. And there are certain stories about, recite or hear such and such mantra. Obviously, it doesn't make sense that if you go around creating negativity, that you at the time of death, you just recite the Medicine Buddha mantra and then you're not reborn in the lower realms. But I'm wondering, is there not a certain power, because there are these examples or stories about certain mantras being recited or practiced? Is there not something to that? Or is it because of the power? Does a mantra have a certain quality or power that can benefit one person?
Yes, of course, there's a number of benefit. Mantra alone, of course, not enough, but the mantra, just reciting mantra, hearing the mantra can benefit, to get some kind of virtues benefit. But mantra alone, of course, it will not going to prevent to born into 3 lords or something. When they're talking about the benefit of reciting the mantras, they have many like these kind of things, the not born into 3 lords or born into higher rebirths and so forth. But these are the not only the mantras, they have a basic things there, so upon there, but even the persons who do not have any basic things there, just hearing the mantra can something benefit, can put some kind of virtues, what you call influence, virtues, what you call imprints, they planting there. So there's something benefit, but that alone, I don't think will purify all the negative karmas. Okay, so finally we're going to do the dedication prayers, the Lamrim dedication prayer. O tenerindo pele tonyene kadra yamba kanji sabadi lomi mari ketundro namde jewe ombo daju je tema sunde tsera kondo yang chambe yangi tsewe jesont tembe rimba kwezan lamji jo nine jeba tupe jenam ninji jo rangi chishin tope lamji Shuda tsewe changwe taji ji tuwe yiji mimba seje ne jewe temba yurin zenjuji Temba rinji choji maja pang jabjang nyambara jube chote ni nyingji chumbo yirab juba. Pende de sewara juba sho seje jewe mi jung chile. Lejo chanjo lamji rinpe jang tatwe namji yila peti. Jewe zeba rindo jonjo ji lamsang chube tunjin chuje jen jeje seshe me tang me. Serab kondo jewe ngaba ye namda lamda ndewara ma ju kanze tebara chola chu tsushi chola tsumba ki tude nanji tato choche jen tashi jamso chuk chabjo chi chanchu simcho rambo che ma ki panam ki ju keba nyamba meba yang kone kondo pewara sho chambe payu chitara jemba tang kondo sambo tenyang tishin de Teta kunji jesu talo chi jewa teta tamji rabdo ngo tuson shibi jewa tamji je mua kangla choto nga pa. Daji jewe tawa tu kunja sambo juji rabdo ngo ki kare rabi kuwe shingam so bendang dewa mari chungwe ne chere songwa tinzin jaso. Shabi sidi pato tenju chi. Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Geshe-la.